Many old people like quiet places more than crowds, not because they dislike people, not because they want to stay away from life. There is something deeper happening inside their mind and body. As people grow older, the brain becomes more sensitive to noise. Sounds feel louder, more scattered, harder to ignore. In a crowded place, there are many sounds at once: voices, movement, background noise. All of this reaches the brain together, and the brain has to process it, sort it, understand it. This takes effort, a lot of effort. So after some time, the mind starts to feel tired, not bored, tired. That is why quiet places feel better. They reduce that load. They give the brain space to rest. There is also something about focus. In a calm environment, the mind can focus on one thing at a time, one conversation, one thought, one feeling. But in a crowd, attention is pulled in many directions, and this constant shifting creates strain. So the mind naturally prefers calm over chaos. There is also a deeper emotional reason. Crowded places can feel overwhelming, not just physically, but emotionally. Too many faces, too many interactions, too much movement. This creates a sense of pressure, even if no one is directly interacting with them. Quiet places remove that pressure. They feel open, spacious, breathable, and that feeling brings relief. There is also something about energy. Social interaction requires energy, listening, responding, understanding, adjusting. In crowds, this demand increases. Even passive presence in a crowd takes energy, and in old age, energy becomes limited, so they protect it by choosing quieter environments. There is also a shift in what feels enjoyable. In younger years, crowds can feel exciting, lively, full of activity. But in older age, excitement is replaced by calm, stillness, peace. So what once felt enjoyable now feels tiring. And what once felt boring now feels comforting. There is also something about control. In quiet places, they feel in control. They can choose when to speak, when to rest, when to move. But in crowds, control reduces. Things move quickly, unpredictably, and that lack of control creates discomfort, so they step away from it. There is also a quiet awareness of vulnerability. In crowded places, movement is fast. People may push, noise may distract, and this can feel unsafe, especially when balance, hearing, or reaction time is not as strong as before. So they choose safer spaces, where movement is slow, where they can feel stable. There is also something about emotional peace. Crowds can bring tension, noise, stress. Even if nothing negative is happening, the mind still feels alert. In quiet places, that alertness reduces. The body relaxes, the mind slows down, and this state feels better, much better. There is also a deeper connection with silence. Silence is not empty for them. It is full of thoughts, memories, awareness. In quiet places, they can sit with these things, without interruption, without pressure, and that inner connection becomes valuable. There is also something about meaningful interaction. In crowds, conversations are often short, surface level, interrupted. But in quiet places, conversations can be deeper, slower, more sincere, and old people value this more. They prefer quality over quantity, a few meaningful words, instead of many scattered ones. There is also a shift from outer stimulation to inner calm. They are not looking for constant activity anymore. They are looking for balance, and quiet places provide that balance, without demanding anything. There is also something about reducing stress on the body. Noise can affect the heart, the mind, the nervous system. Crowded environments can increase tension, even if it is subtle. So avoiding them is a way of protecting health. There is also a quiet preference for predictability. Quiet places are more stable, less sudden change, less unexpected movement. This predictability feels safe, comforting. There is also something about how they experience time. In quiet places, time feels slower, gentler, more manageable. In crowds, time can feel rushed, fast, overwhelming, so they choose environments where time feels calm. There is also a subtle emotional comfort in space. Space to sit, space to breathe, space to think. Crowds reduce that space. quiet places expanded, and that expansion feels freeing. There is also something about how they protect their senses. Sight, sound, touch. All senses become more sensitive, so they avoid environments that overload them and move toward those that soothe them. There is also a deeper understanding of what truly brings peace. Not noise, not activity, not constant interaction, but calm, balance, stillness. And maybe the most important reason is this: they are not avoiding people, they are choosing peace. They are choosing environments that match their inner state, a state that values calm over chaos, depth over noise, presence over pressure. So when you see an old person choosing a quiet place over a crowded one, it is not isolation. It is alignment, a quiet, thoughtful alignment with what their mind and body truly need. And in that choice, there is wisdom, not withdrawal. And when this preference for quiet places becomes stronger, something else begins to change. They start to notice more. Small details, soft sounds, subtle movements, things that are often missed in busy environments. A bird's voice, the way light falls on a wall, the feeling of a gentle breeze. These small things become meaningful because the mind now has space to notice them. In crowds, these details disappear. Everything blends into noise, so they move toward places where life feels clearer, not louder. There's also something about how their thoughts behave in quiet. In silence, thoughts slow down. They become more organized, less scattered, easier to understand. In crowded places, thoughts can become mixed, interrupted, lost between external noise. So quiet places help them stay connected to their own mind. There is also a deeper emotional comfort in not being watched. In crowds, there is often a subtle feeling of being seen, being judged. Even if no one is actually paying attention, this feeling can create pressure. But in quiet places, that pressure disappears. They can sit freely, move slowly, be themselves, without feeling observed, and that freedom feels peaceful. There is also something about how they process emotions. Emotions need space, they need calm, they need silence to settle. In crowded environments, emotions can feel blocked or intensified in an uncomfortable way. But in quiet places, emotions can move naturally, without disturbance, without confusion. There is also a quiet shift in social needs. They may still enjoy people, but in smaller numbers. One person, two people, a calm conversation, instead of many voices at once, because connection feels better when it is clear, not crowded. There is also something about how they protect their mental clarity. Too much noise can create confusion. Too many inputs at once can blur thinking. So they choose environments that keep their mind clear, focused, calm. There is also a subtle awareness of how noise affects mood. Loud places can create irritation, restlessness, fatigue, even if it is not obvious at first. But quiet places create the opposite: calm, stability, ease, so they naturally move toward what feels better. There is also something about personal boundaries. In crowded spaces, boundaries feel reduced. People come close, noise enters freely, movement surrounds them. But in quiet places, boundaries are respected. They have their space, their comfort, their control, and that matters deeply. There is also a quiet preference for slower interactions. In crowds, everything feels rushed. Fast conversations, quick movements, short attention. But in quiet places, everything slows down, and this slower pace matches their rhythm. There is also something about how they conserve emotional energy. Every interaction uses energy, even small ones. In crowds, there are many small interactions, many small adjustments, and all of this adds up. So they limit exposure, not to avoid people, but to protect their energy. There is also a deeper appreciation for calm environments, because they have experienced both noise and silence, movement and stillness. And after experiencing both, they begin to choose what feels better. Not what looks better, not what others prefer, but what truly supports their well-being. There is also something about how they experience comfort. Comfort is no longer about excitement. It is about ease, a place where nothing feels too much. where everything feels manageable, and quiet places provide that. There is also a subtle emotional safety in calm environments. Nothing unexpected, nothing overwhelming, just steady, predictable surroundings. And that stability supports their inner balance. There is also something about how they begin to value presence over stimulation. They do not need constant activity to feel alive. They can sit, observe, feel, and that is enough. In fact, that feels better. There is also a quiet dignity in choosing calm, not following the crowd, not forcing themselves into environments that feel uncomfortable, but listening to their own needs and respecting them. There is also something about how they redefine enjoyment. Enjoyment becomes quieter, softer, more internal. A peaceful moment can feel more satisfying than a busy event, and that shift changes their preferences completely. And maybe the most important thing to understand is this: they are not moving away from life. They are moving toward a version of life that feels right for them, a version that is not loud, not crowded, not overwhelming, but calm, clear, and deeply comfortable. So when you see an old person choosing a quiet place over a crowd, you are not seeing isolation. You are seeing self-understanding, a quiet, honest understanding of what their mind and body need now. And in that understanding, there is peace, there is balance, and there is a kind of wisdom that only comes when a person has truly learned how to listen to themselves. And when they begin to truly listen to themselves, their choices become simpler. Not because life becomes simple, but because they stop choosing what feels heavy. They stop forcing themselves into spaces that drain them, and they move gently toward what feels right. Quiet places become more than a preference. They become a form of care, a way of protecting the mind, a way of calming the body, a way of staying balanced. There is also something about how they begin to experience connection differently. Connection is no longer about being surrounded by many people. It is about feeling understood, even if it is with just one person, or sometimes with no one at all. Just sitting in a peaceful place can create a sense of connection with the environment, with their thoughts, with themselves. There is also a quiet awareness of how noise affects the heart. Not just the ears. Loud environments can create tension inside, a slight unease, a subtle pressure, even if they do not explain it. But in quiet places, that tension disappears. The heart feels lighter, breathing becomes easier, and that physical ease matters deeply. There is also something about how they begin to value calm over stimulation. Stimulation excites the mind for a short time, but calm supports it for a longer time. And in old age, long-lasting comfort becomes more valuable than short bursts of excitement. So they choose calm again and again. There is also a deeper emotional honesty. They no longer pretend to enjoy things that tire them. They do not push themselves to match others. They accept what feels right and live according to that truth. There is also something about how they protect their inner space, their thoughts, their feelings, their peace. Crowds can enter that space without permission, through noise, through movement, through energy. But quiet places respect that space. They allow it to remain undisturbed. There is also a subtle sense of relief in not having to respond constantly. In crowds, there is often an unspoken expectation to react, to engage, to participate. But in quiet places, there is no such demand. They can simply exist, without effort, without expectation. And that relief feels freeing. There is also something about how they begin to appreciate stillness, not as emptiness, but as fullness, full of awareness, full of presence, full of subtle experiences. And quiet places allow that stillness to be felt. There is also a quiet balance between outer calm and inner calm. When the outside is peaceful, the inside follows. Thoughts slow down, emotions settle, the body relaxes, and this alignment creates a deep sense of well-being. There is also something about how they begin to choose environments that match their pace. Not too fast, not too demanding, just right. And quiet places naturally fit that pace. There is also a deeper understanding that not everything needs to be experienced loudly. Some of the most meaningful moments are silent, soft, simple, and they begin to value those moments more. There is also a quiet confidence in their choices. They do not feel the need to justify why they prefer calm. They simply know, and that knowing is enough. There is also something about how they protect their emotional energy. They do not spend it freely anymore. They use it where it matters. And avoiding crowds is part of that protection. There is also a subtle awareness of how peace can be easily disturbed, and once disturbed, it takes time to return. So they avoid situations that may break that peace. There is also something very human in all of this. After living through noise, stress, movement, and constant activity, they begin to choose what feels gentle, what feels kind to the mind, what feels soft to the heart. And quiet places offer exactly that. And maybe the deepest truth is this: they are not becoming distant, they are becoming selective. Selective about where they go, selective about what they engage in, selective about what they allow into their space. And this selectiveness is not rejection, it is refinement, a quiet refining of life into something simpler, something calmer, something more aligned with who they are now. So when you see an old person choosing a quiet place over a crowded one, you are seeing a choice that comes from experience, from awareness, from a deep understanding of what truly brings peace. And in that quiet choice, there is comfort, there is clarity, and there is a gentle way of living that does not need noise to feel complete. And when life becomes quieter like this, something else begins to settle inside them. They stop feeling the need to keep up with noise, keep up with people, keep up with constant activity. That pressure slowly fades, and in its place, a calm acceptance grows. There is no need to rush anymore. This acceptance changes everything. There is also something about how they begin to trust silence, not fear it, not try to fill it, but trust it. Because in silence, nothing is forced, nothing is expected, and that creates a deep sense of ease. There is also a quiet shift in how they measure a good day. It is no longer about how much happened, how many places they went, how many people they met. It becomes about how they felt. Were they calm? Were they comfortable? Did they feel at peace? And quiet places support that feeling. There is also something about how they begin to release social pressure. They no longer feel the need to attend every gathering, to be present in every crowd, to show up just because others expect it. They choose based on how they feel, and that freedom brings relief. There is also a deeper connection to their own inner voice. In noisy environments, that voice is hard to hear, but in quiet places, it becomes clear, gentle, guiding, and they start to listen to it more. There is also something about how they begin to protect their mood. They notice what lifts it and what disturbs it, and they choose accordingly. Quiet places lift it, crowds often disturb it, so the choice becomes simple. There is also a subtle emotional comfort in predictability. Quiet places do not change suddenly. They do not surprise the senses. They remain steady, and that steadiness feels safe. There is also something about how they begin to value softness. Soft sounds, soft light, soft conversations, soft environments, because harshness in sound or movement feels too much. And quiet places naturally provide that softness. There is also a quiet realization that not everything needs to be shared loudly. Some feelings are better kept in silence. Some moments are better experienced quietly, and they begin to honor that. There is also something about how they conserve not just physical energy, but mental space. Crowds fill the mind with too many inputs, too many impressions, too many details, and this can feel overwhelming. So they protect their mental space by choosing environments that keep it clear. There is also a deeper appreciation for calm companionship, sitting with someone without much talking, sharing space without pressure. This feels more meaningful than being surrounded by many voices. There is also something about how they begin to detach from unnecessary stimulation. They no longer need constant input to feel alive. They feel alive in stillness, in awareness, in simple presence. There is also a quiet strength in choosing less. Less noise, less movement, less chaos. And in that less, they find more clarity, more peace, more balance. There is also something about how they begin to see that peace is not something you find in busy places. It is something you create by choosing where you place yourself, and they place themselves in calm again and again. There is also a subtle emotional healing that happens in quiet environments. The mind rests, the body relaxes, old tensions soften without effort, just by being in the right space. There is also something about how they begin to value depth over surface. A quiet moment can feel deeper than a loud event. A calm space can feel richer than a crowded one. And this shift changes everything. There is also a quiet alignment between their inner state and outer environment. They feel calmer inside, so they choose calm outside. And this alignment brings harmony. There is also something very simple, yet very powerful. They feel better in quiet, and that is enough reason. They do not need to explain it. They do not need to justify it. They simply follow it. And maybe the most meaningful truth is this: they are not stepping away from the world. They are stepping into a space where they can experience it more gently, more clearly, more peacefully. And in that gentle experience, life does not feel less. It feels deeper, more real, more aligned with who they have become. So when you see an old person choosing quiet over crowds, you are not seeing withdrawal. You are seeing a quiet mastery of life, a way of living that understands that peace is not found in noise, but in the calm spaces we choose to stay in.